Hey friends, it is your most amazing art teacher at Stowe, Jazmine, and here is what we are creating today. Hello, art party people. The very first thing you are going to want to do is trace something round for your moon. I used a Play-Doh cup here, but you could use the lid to your paint or honestly anything. The next thing I'm doing is mapping out where I want my hills to be. It's a little difficult to see, but trust me, they are there. Then I'm picking up some red paint and I'm going around the outside of my moon. I added a little water to my brush so that it would spread easier onto my canvas. Here you will see me layer quite a bit. Now I'm adding white to the center of my moon, and you'll see me start to swirl it around the center of my moon and out into the red areas to start to mix those colors together. This process is a lot of layering and back and forth. Sometimes if I feel like a spot is getting too light, I'll go back in and I'll add some red. If I feel like it's getting too dark, I go back in and add a little bit more white. So for me, it's a lot of layering and back and forth to get the look that I really want. So you might find yourself going back and forth quite a bit. Just a heads up. Now I'm going to start adding in this darker sky. How I made this color is by mixing green and red together. I got this purplish brown color, but it worked really well for the outer corners and creating my night sky. Now you're going to see me mixing up some more paint and adding that color into the rest of the sky just a little bit to include it throughout and not just on the edges. You'll also notice that at times I go back in again with red and white because I felt like it was getting too dark. So again, this is that balance of trying to figure out what you like. After figuring out the sky, now we're going to go in and start our snowy hills if you chose to do hills. If you didn't choose to do hills, I would take this sky and this circular motion all the way out to the edge of the canvas. However, I chose to do hills, and here I'm adding white. And now I'll start to add lines of green. I'm adding lines because I don't want to entirely cover this white space, and I am going to go back over these green lines because I want to blend them into the snow-covered hills. As you can see here, I'm starting to go over top of those just a little bit with the white paint. And now adding red to make it look like there's a little reflection happening from the sky on the snow a bit. I didn't like how that last hill was looking, so I dabbed it with a paper towel, and now I'm going back over it with white and trying to blend all of these colors together into the hills. Now, before I add the trees in, I want to speed up my drying process a little bit, so I am using a blow dryer to dry my background. Once your painting or the background is done drying, now we're going to add in some trees. For this example, I started with the white first, but as you're about to see after I add all of the white, I then went back in with green and then white on top. So you may want to play around with, maybe you want to start with green and then do the white on top for snow. This white, I felt like, helped my green trees pop off the page, but then again, it's a little back and forth with the white in the background, the green on top, and then going back in to add a little bit more white like they're snow-covered trees. You may also play around with having gold trees. Be creative here. Your trees do not need to look like mine, and you can have as many or as few of trees as you would like. Let me also add that the brushes I am using for my trees are the smaller square size 6 and the smaller rounded brush that is a size 4. I'm starting my brush at the point and I'm pulling it down and outwards to create that feathered look or that tree-like branch happening. So starting at a point or the middle, if you're working your way down, pulling your brush down and out. Here's when you'll see me add some color on top. Still using this small brush that I just rinsed or washed and dried, and then going back in with this green. Now I'm going to practice going back in with the white over top. I'm not even really rinsing my brush out in between having just laid down the green and going back in with the white because it's going to mix on my canvas anyway. Now, I thought I would try a gold tree just to see how it would pop off the background here, especially since I already have that white laid down. As you're about to see, I wasn't too impressed with it, so I did end up going back and adding the green and white on top. Now is when I'm going to start adding some snowflakes into the sky. Here's where I used those really pointed brushes. If you have the set that we put together, like this very small 2, the 2/0, any of those really small pointy brushes, this is going to be perfect for that. You can just dip the point into the paint that you're wanting to use. I used a lot of white. I tried some gold just so that it could be a little bit more reflective in this particular one. If you would like those bigger clumps, you might press or put more pressure on your brush to create the larger snowflakes or stars. You have a lot of creative freedom here. I'm going to now dry this one last time because I would like to add the gold on top, glistening off some of the trees, again, and maybe a little bit more in the night sky, and then on top of those hills a little bit. So I want to make sure it is dry. To add the little pops of gold, again, I'm using one of those very small pointy brushes because I don't want a lot. I want just enough to add that glisten and shine to the tops and in a few detailed areas. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed.